What are you doing?
I'm looking at this. It's like lunch ideas for kids. My aunt sent it to me, so I was just looking at it.
Uh, that's dope. Um, so where's the baby girl?
She's downstairs with my parents.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to once it's time. Once it's like noon, I'm gonna turn around, unplug this so I can have my picture as a background instead of.
Yep. Oh, then there's a Oh, let me do the sound effects if you can hear it. Let me know what you think.
Is that from Prices Right?
Yeah. And then hold up. Let me try this next one. Hold up. You can hear that
That's
good?
for you.
Huh?
That's for you.
Yeah.
For your jokes.
That's for you. How does it sound, mad
That
loud?
is that clapping?
Yeah. Hold on. Let me try this one. Does that sound better?
That sounds like a toilet flushing.
Really?
That was better than the first one. So from Zoom, you can broadcast to YouTube and Facebook.
You can, but I don't even know how to do Facebook. And my it's weird because my Adobe, my hold on, let me put on my stunner shades right quick. That bit.
The overall zone.
Yeah. Uh, but yeah, so you can do it, but my YouTube is so my Google Chrome is tripping. It keeps crashing.
Yeah, mine doesn't work on my laptop. I need to get it serviced, but Apple Store is not open right now. So
Yeah, so my Google Chrome is tripping, but then so it is work. It is we are streaming on YouTube, but yeah, um you got all the bios. We got everything we need. Good to go.
they got a lot of stuff in these bios. I only took like the beginning parts because I felt like that's most important, and then if they
Yeah,
so choose want to talk about the other stuff, then
yeah,
that's
that's fine.
fine.
Yeah,
But
I don't think we have to do the life story.
right. But I mean, it's. I mean, when you have a lot of accolades, it's like, well, which ones,
Do you? Yeah.
which ones are you most proud of or stick out the most? But
All right, my doorway is still cracked. I'm on the call. Monica is on the call, but I don't see her. Shoot.
yeah, it says four participants. Do you have to let them in?
Um,
It has two attendees. So I think she has to go as a panelist and not an attendee.
yeah, yeah, yeah. She's on. She says she's on as an attendee. You're right. Um, you I'm gonna give her that link because that is All right, I think she's coming on. We had two audience. Now she's gonna come on. All right, so right on 59. Um, there we go. We got one of our get our hosts. First one.
Yes, sir. How you doing?
What up?
Hello.
How you doing?
I'm
What
doing
time?
well. How are you?
We holding it.
Got
We
the
holding it
whole
down.
background ready.
Yeah, he's ready. He's ready to go.
It's just been that's multi-purpose background there.
Yeah.
It's multi-purpose.
Yeah. All right.
I
So
appreciate y'all having me. I appreciate it.
yeah, we're gonna so we got Monica on, and I'm gonna put her on as a she's
She's here now.
yeah, she's here, but then I just so go ahead and get started. I'm gonna try to talk her through how to uh get um get on as a on the camera and stuff.
Hmm?
Said
Well, please start until you're ready, Charles. You got it. This is you. This is you.
hold on, sorry, say that one more time.
Detroit is Texan. Did you email it?
Detroit has it. I'm trying. I'm gonna see. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna email the link that I
I'll forward it to him.
yeah, because we are because that's the thing that I'll be wait. I don't when I if I you got to go on as a panelist, and so what I do what I know I notice like if I here I'm just gonna text it the link. Come on as a panelist because you gotta
Oh, you send it to him? That's the panelist one?
yeah. Yeah, because if sometimes you send the so Monica, right now I sent you I just texted you the right link to come on as a panelist. So come on as a panelist, and you'll be on the line with all of us on camera. I know I might just have to change the name. Shot. We got a guest in the building. Whatever, Shot. What's the deal?
That's my family. That's my
Oh,
teammate.
oh, really? Whatever, Shot. Say what's up right quick. We getting it going. We just we getting everybody on the line, and we got to start.
Oh, so the names come up if they're just an attendee, and the video comes up if
Yeah,
panelists.
yeah,
I'm looking forward to a great conversation. I'm driving, so I want to hear some good content.
yeah. That's what's up. Where you driving to? You got your mask on?
Oh yeah, I'm gonna go pick up some groceries. Just put it in the trunk.
Right.
Exactly. No question.
Yeah.
This thing is different for us, as we all know. It's
Bo,
different.
yeah. So Bo, yeah. How you doing, Bo? So I'm gonna text you. I want you to come on as a panelist. So I'm gonna text you the panelist link. It's the one that you got in your email because that link that I sent you was for the to kind of share. Oh, there we go, Monica. What's the word? Let's
Hello.
see. That's perfect. So yeah, so Bo, I'm mute your mic. So we
Oh, okay, I'm in the wrong thing. Hi, everyone.
yeah.
Hi, how are you?
Hi.
Hey, yeah. So just click. So click that link. I just texted to you. So just click that link.
Well, I'm on my computer, so I have to, that came to my phone. So let me try to send this to my computer real quick,
Okay.
to my email.
I'll forward it to your email right now.
Oh yeah, send it to the one that's up there, Miss Bo Tally, Miss Bo at Bo Tally. Okay, let me leave this and then
Okay.
come back.
So we're just getting settled in, make sure everybody know where to go. Oh, I don't need that right now.
There we go. So Miss Bo. All right, so let me change your name right. Oh, you changed it. Okay, that's tight. Change it. I was about to change your name.
Dance hustle at first, huh?
Yeah, it was Dance Hustle for a second. So all right, let's go ahead. We're gonna get Miss Bo on the line shortly. Um, but yeah, so today we're happy to have everyone. This show is the relationship game. We on a good news, the Good News Network, the Good News Podcast Network, and we welcomed a lot of special guests in to have a dope conversation about love and basketball. And it's a pleasure to have everyone here. And essentially, we've been all quarantining and social distancing, so
Yes.
we've been able to enjoy basketball through the greatest basketball player, the POV of the greatest basketball player of all time, and that is Michael Jordan. Bo Talley has joined us. Welcome in, and essentially I'm just introducing everybody and what the subject is. It's love and basketball. So we got some lovers, we got some basketball, we got the whole gambit.
The whole thing.
Yeah, and let me unmute your mic, and then we're gonna change your name real quick to. But yeah, I'm gonna change your name shortly so everybody don't see you as Dance Hustle right now. They see both as Dance Hustle. But yeah, so
Oh yeah, they do see me as Dance Hustle.
yeah,
Dance Hustle.
but yeah, no, yeah, but all that to say is we've been sheltering in place and social distancing. We've been enjoying this Last Dance documentary. Thankfully, that we've been able to enjoy basketball, this game that we all love and excited about, and so we've been able to experience that, and we've been experiencing love as well. So I'm gonna pass it to my amazing, talented guest. She's in the Bay Area, host Akila Trinae. She's in the Bay Area, and she's doing her thing. And so she's going to introduce all our special guests to introduce the show. Akila Trinae, take it away.
Thank you. Thank you,
Hold
Charles.
on 1 second, because I've been working on my sound effects. So I want to make sure you get a round of applause right
Yeah.
here we go. Welcome in Akila Trinae to the show.
I told him it sounds like a toilet flushing, but
It really does.
Hey, because you the shit. You know what I'm saying?
That's a good comeback.
thank you, Charles, for that. One of the things I'm really excited about is that all of our guests have so many accomplishments, and I won't be able to share them all, but I tried to put together just a few of them just to introduce you all to each other, to our guests who are tuning in, just to have a little bit of insight of, the royalty that we have in the building. So I'll start first with Antonio Williams. Antonio has 15 plus years of cross-functional sports experience in media, player analysis, marketing, and operations. Throughout his career, Antonio served as an invaluable resource and integral part of major organizations, including the Phoenix Suns, Nike, ESPN, Boston Red Sox, and the NBA. His range of experience across brands, teams, leagues, and media outlets offers the full 360-degree perspective on the complexities of the sport landscape. Okay? Colleagues often refer to him as the walking encyclopedia for basketball. He has a unique ability to deliver technical knowledge and insight in a way that engages and informs audiences. So we're super, super excited and blessed to have you here with us.
I'm happy to be here.
Welcome you to the show.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Applause. Welcome in.
Right, I was waiting for the toilet flush. Okay, guys. All right, next we have Bo Talley Williams. Bo Talley Williams is the CEO of Black Pearl Entertainment, LLC, owner of Bo Fit, LLC, and the creator and founder of a 501c nonprofit organization, Balling for Lupus Loves Foundation. She is a wife, a mother of 5, and meme to 1 granddaughter. Or is it Mimi?
Yes, Mimi girl, not Granny, Mimi.
Mimi's the one granddaughter. She's an entrepreneur, fitness instructor, humanitarian, philanthropist, actress, and an event host. In addition to the many hats that she wears, she also serves as a huge motivation and inspiration to many people. In 2013, her age-defying photo went viral and today continues to make national and international headlines that encourages people of all ages to live healthy lives. And right there with her, we have Fred Williams. Fred Williams has been coaching women's basketball for over 31 years, 20 years of professional and 11 years of collegiate. Fred's coaching career started out in 1983 at the University of Southern California, USC, where he helped guide the women of Troy to 2 NCAA championships and several conference titles. He's now head of coach of the Dallas Wings, WNBA, Women's National Basketball Association.
Oh, no, he's not.
I'm going to
Assistant
LA
with
now.
the Sparks.
I'm with the Sparks, baby. I'm with the
Assistant
Sparks
with the
now.
Sparks.
I'm Sparks.
Scratch all of that. Well, we welcome you to the show because you.
But I
can
still love Dallas. Dallas is still cool too.
To the Sparks, man. I told him I'm coming by. Welcome you guys. Welcome. Once we get going, I'm coming to them games. You know, we all right down the street.
Right.
Come on down.
All right.
And last and certainly not least, we have Monica Wright Rogers. Monica Wright Rogers was named to Tina Thompson's coaching staff in May of 2019. She graduated as the Cavaliers' all-time leading scorer with 2,540 points, which ranks 3rd in the history of the Atlantic Coast Conference. The 3-time All-American was honored as a 2010 ACC Player of the Year, ACC Defensive Player of the Year, and WBCA National Defensive Player of the Year after averaging 23.7 points per game, ranked 7th nationally, and 3.7 steals per game, 2nd in the NCAA. We want to welcome you, Monica, to the show.
Hi, Coach Fred.
Hello there. Woo!
Oh man, it's so good to see y'all.
Absolutely. Likewise.
I feel like I just saw y'all earlier this season.
Yes, early this season. I think it was at the USC game. Yes.
Yes, it's so great to see y'all smiling and looking just all beautiful.
Yeah, and happy anniversary. You guys just celebrated your anniversary recently.
Yeah, 12 years.
12 years, yep.
Yeah, 12 years. And yeah, so that's another round of applause. I might just keep doing this all show. So you know.
Yeah.
Right.
And happy anniversary, and also happy Mother's Day to the mothers, and congratulations to Monica. You know, she got a little one on the way. I seen the announcement online.
Oh, happy Mother's Day, girl.
Yeah, happy Mother's Day. And it was announcement was made via Jordans, which I thought was so cool. It was like different sizes of Jordans. And,
Oh, wow.
Oh, that was neat.
yeah, it was real creative. What gave you that thought? Like what made you do that?
Well, me and Michael, my husband, we have the same Jordan, the breads. They're called the breads, but it's like the 11s in black, red, and white. And I was like, oh, it'd be cool if I just found like a baby pair and just put it all together to announce like that a baby's coming. Obviously, I'll be the person buying the shoes, or he'll be the person buying the shoes, so the baby will have our taste. And I was obviously watching The Last Dance, so I'm like wearing my Jordans for every episode.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
They were already out, and I actually got the idea online too. I saw someone else did a similar announcement with Jordan 1s. So yeah, just thought it was cute.
Yeah, that's amazing. And so we are here talking about The Last Dance, and as people that are in the basketball world, just tell us your thoughts. Like, how is The Last Dance documentary? What is that doing for you as somebody that has such a close relationship to basketball? I'll start with Monica, and then we'll just go to the rest of the panel.
For me personally, I absolutely love it. I'm definitely a student of the game, and I'm someone who enjoys watching the journeys of other great players. And I'm absolutely like just astonished also at the coaching. I know Phil Jackson is not, he's unorthodox in his methods, but it's so interesting to see how he was successful in just, you know, managing all the egos and all the different personalities that he had, and just also understanding Jordan, the method to his madness. And he's actually not as complicated and intricate as people think. He's just simple in how, you know, what drives him, but just the amount of things that he had to go through. And being a WNBA, ex-WNBA player, Coach Williams knows we went to several finals against him in
Yeah.
Atlanta.
Look, why are you shaking your head, man?
Because he won. He shook his head because
3 points short the whole time. 3 points short, man. 3 points.
But think about it, Coach Fred, it was so hard. Like, it was
Very
not
hard.
easy at all, being in the finals, going to postseason every season. And it's just interesting. I love watching how Michael Jordan, how he led his team, how he managed himself, his family, all the things he went through. And now that I'm a coach, I'm like, I'm calling my players, I'm asking them questions, I'm making them think about like the mindset that they need to have to be a winner. And, you know, do they want it? You know, that's like the main question. Is he wanted it, so he did what he had to do. So now I think for me as a coach, I want my players to ask themselves these questions. Do you want to win? Because if that is like, that's the main question to produce the action behind what it is going to take to get there. So I love it.
Yeah, I thought myself, you know, watching it off and on, just the changing of the guard. You know, Michael Jordan, you know, Kobe Bryant, Larry Bird back in the day, and you know, Dennis Johnson. I'm going deep back in the day with players, but just the overall effect of how teams. It's just not about one guy, one person, or one lady. It's about a team, and you said it right, Monica, about dealing with egos. You know, every day you got to deal with about 12 egos a day. I don't know how they do it in football, but man, you know, just in basketball is something else, because when you get to this pro level, everybody's pretty much equal, but then it becomes the fact of coaching. You know, Phil Jackson and his staff had to make sure that each and every player was on the same page every day. You know, Dennis Rodman was, you know, he was, you know, he wasn't one of those long race type horses. He was just a horse you had to just let go and do his own thing, you know, out there. And they understood that. And so every player and every team that's won a championship has pretty much had one or maybe two, but maybe one player that's had, you know, certain things that goes on with an organization that the whole team had to buy into and, you know, kind of let go. When Robin said he had to go to Vegas, he had to go to Vegas. You know, come back, and Michael was right. Hey, you ain't gonna get this guy back, so you better go get him. But you knew that they needed him. He was the key opponent to that engine to make it run and go for those championships and make it happen. And you talk about the bad boys, Detroit, you know, getting, you know, kind of snubbing the Bulls and walking off the floor, not shaking their hands. And still today, that kind of rubs, you know, Michael Jordan the wrong way and a lot of players the wrong way, how that was handled. And so for me as a coach, seeing that and looking at those, you know, looking at, you know, The Last Dance, it was more like the first dance for me watching it, because I'm picking up a lot of pointers that I can take to this LA Sparks team.
Right. No, for me, so first off, Coach Fred, Coach Monica, as a former player and a student of the game, I was big fans of you both. Fred, you're with the home team, so respect to you on that. And Monica, I watched you a lot in Virginia, watched you a lot in the league. So congratulations on your success as well, and on your little one coming. So want to certainly verbalize that. And, you know, to talk about the coaching part, you know, from coming from a scouting perspective when I worked in the league, especially with us drafting players so young when they come to the NBA, you have to sort of make an organization and a coach, you have to make an effort to make a connection with these young players off the floor, especially now because the players are so much more informed that you have to almost show that you care about them. So if you want to get to the sweet part of their production. And Phil was doing that early with you hear the stories about him giving books to every player, and then it was a different book for every player that sort of spoke to where they were in their respective journeys as players, and it gets that buy-in. And now you see, and again, I don't want to make this a political conversation, but when you stick a microphone in front of Greg Popovich's face or in front of Steve Kerr's face in the NBA, and you ask them about the person that we have in the White House right now, they literally go berserk. And what it communicates to those players in the locker room is, this person has my back. This person understands my plight, even if they look different from me. So with that being said, when you get that buy-in, now you can get to that accountability on the floor and ask them to do things that maybe they feel like they can't do because you've achieved that buy-in and communicated to them that you care about them more than just a basketball player. And I think a lot in the league, you see teams sort of missing that when they're evaluating players. And if you make that connection with that player, and especially with them being so young, you almost have to help them in their development off the floor if you want to see that production on the floor.
Yeah, that's so true. And it's, off season is very important because, in the WNBA, we have a little bit more time. We go about 4.5 months of season play, but then, those other months we're pretty much off. Our players go overseas, and get with different teams. And so as a coach, like you said, Antonio, it's important for us to keep their minds fresh with us in our league, because what I try to do myself is give motivational quotes to players, try to, reach out to them maybe once or twice a week if I can, and see where they are and what they're doing. But they really respect that a great deal, more so than the basketball part, because if you're in their world off the court, then they're going to be in your world on the court and off the court as well.
And Bo, I had a question for you. There was something online recently as far as Juanita Jordan. They were showing that that she wasn't really obviously she's Michael Jordan's ex-wife, but she didn't really get a lot of parts in the documentary. So people were just wondering, like, because this is love and basketball and it's a relationship game. I mean, I feel like people do need to acknowledge that he had a whole family while he was winning those championships, and she had her own experience as well, and things that are a story to tell, or at least she was by his side throughout what he was going through. So is there what's your perspective as far as like being somebody that's also having in a relationship with somebody that's professionally doing all these things? Is that a journey that what's that journey like, and should that be explored as well?
Of course, we're the backbone to them. You know what I mean? Our husbands, the coaches, are therapists. They become best friends, they're doctors, they're everything to these players. And so when they come home from that stress, we definitely hear it. So, we have to just be the backbone. It's a lot to the wives and the family when it comes to just any sport or just anything. When you have a leader like we do in my family, my husband, we have to be there. We have to be the shoulder to cry on. We're even the coach. Hell, I'm the coach too. I'm the one scouting with him too. I do. I'm a scout. I'm beside him all the time. If you don't see me, then I'm doing something. It's the both of us together. When he's out scouting players during collegiate season, I'm sitting somewhere in the stands scouting too. So we're there 24/7, supporting, helping, and hearing, some things, that we shouldn't hear, but if you walk by, you might hear it. Yeah. But at the same time, it is tough on us because we want to make sure we keep them calm so they can keep their players calm, because it's just so much to this game of basketball. And so, yeah, it's tough on us. We have a huge role in this that people don't even understand. Yeah. Without us, without me, I don't think he'd be sane. You understand? Yeah. Without me, I don't think he would really be sane, because a lot of people would just heads be chopped off by now, because it's a gruesome sport. As a player, Monica, as a coach, Antonio, you guys know, it's so much that goes on behind the scenes that people don't see, and families are definitely there, involved and supporting.
Yeah. And
One of
now,
the things,
go ahead, kid.
one of the things that we were talking about last week on our show was just because we were talking about Mother's Day and just mothers and just a lot of stuff, but that for women, oftentimes when it comes to their like their family and their children, that's part of where they find a lot of their identity. But when it comes to males, they're more defined by their careers and their success. And so, kind of piggybacking to what Charles was saying, do you feel that if the documentary were about a female athlete, would the aspects of her family life and marriage or love be included in that? Or do you feel like this was a strategic choice to just include his career and leave out the things about the family?
I definitely feel like it was just for him, for sure.
Yeah.
I think sometimes with basketball, just with sports, period, on this level of a job, I feel like certain aspects of it people don't want to see. They don't want to see the truth about what really goes on in people's lives and who's the real backbones and the real supporters behind it. So yeah, I felt like it was left out on purpose.
Yeah.
I felt like more of her could have been seen, how she helped him get to where he is and things like that. Yeah, I definitely felt like a lot more of that could have been seen, but that's just a story people don't want to hear. I mean, it's Michael Jordan. They just want to hear about who he is, what he's done, what he's accomplished, who he's pissed off, all that. And the wife, you know, even though I'm sure if she could tell her side of the story, it's so much more than what they have been showing. And even with him, there's so much more when his story is completely told. There's so much more I could say than the world will ever know. So yeah, I think strategically it was left out. And that's what we get. We get the short end of the stick, but we know who we are. When you are someone like her and myself, we know who we are. We know what we did. Sometimes when it's our time for our story to be told, it'll be told, you know? So we just still stay strong in it all, and we still support, even when we get the short end of the stick, and even when we're treated bad, we still, when you love, and you support. And that's just it.
So for me, one of the things, in addition to Juanita, and speaking about mothers, his mother, Michael's mother, should receive a finder's check or something. She is a co-founder of Nike in terms of making him take the meeting with Nike. Also too, when the unfortunate situation happened with his father, she was part of sort of motivating him and getting him to move forward. So she also deserves a lot more credit and a lot more shine than she deserves, than she's been shown. And I can also say too, from not only playing, but scouting and the toll that it takes on my wife, takes on my daughter, me not being present, my wife holding everything together, especially at the time when I was working for the Suns, living in Chicago, and we're there, we have our daughter, and we don't have any family there. So she's holding everything together. Yeah. So, and she's a basketball person, and she has her own life and her own job and all those different things. So I think one of the things too, that when you work in this industry, when I talk to young people about being in this industry and they start looking at making decisions about who their mate is, I always say that you have to, it's almost imperative that you deal with someone that is self-sufficient, has their own life, has some level of independence, because oftentimes, and I can say this from working in the league, I can say this from playing myself, I can say this from working in a branding perspective, sometimes these players will be larger than life, and they will oftentimes have mates that, other than their looks, that's about the only thing that they have going for them. So the player is oftentimes managing that of their mate's life. And you really need to have someone that they are their own person. They can keep going. They don't revolve around your attention, and your life isn't the only thing that they have going on in their life. And so for me, dating, again, my wife was a D2 All-American, so she was a player. So with me being gone, me being busy, me doing all the things that she is her own person. So she has her own mountains to climb as well, which automatically kept me in line, kept our relationship intact. She didn't define herself totally in me. And when you watch Michael, it's clear that his support system, his ex-wife, his mom, their whole system and everything that they had, they achieved greatness without him. So I think it's really important to have people in your life that, yes, when you guys come together, you make these momentous things happen. But apart, you guys aren't codependent, and apart, you can also achieve greatness apart. So that's very important to me. And that's one of the things that I keep coming back to as I watch this as well.
Yeah, that's well said. You know, I'm going live on Instagram also. I give you an applause, right? but that was well said. I would say, with when I'm watching this, as somebody who, you know, I also got like basketball background. I got a couple rec league championships. You know, I just want to throw that out.
Hey,
All right, you
that
got to
counts,
do it.
man. That counts. Put it
Let's
in the
get the
bucket.
round of
That
applause for
counts.
that.
Nah, you know, but all that to say is, you know, with somebody that, you know, we enjoy basketball, but it's like you said, it's a lot of behind the scenes stuff. It's a lot of mental game. It's really mental chess or something like that. And so I just wonder, how is, you know, Monica, we were talking about that early yesterday, but I just wonder, as far as with, when you are a player, or, you know, even on a coach perspective, how, Jordan was very motivated to win. It was almost like, he had to tap into the disrespect and vengeance and things like that. And those were the things that allowed him to tap into the next tier. And so with that, is there, and then also he was motivating his team. You know, he got a lot of pushback when he was motivating his team through like those type of ways. And so I just wonder, do you think that because he won so much, some people might walk away with seeing that and saying, oh, well, this is how I need to, you know, motivate my team, or how I need to tap into, or do you think, you know, can you still be a champion without all the stuff that he was doing, you know?
Yeah, I think there's several different ways to win a championship. And the method that he chose works for him. I don't know if it would work for everybody or every personality. His personality specifically needed, you know, a chip on the shoulder. He needed fuel to fire him. And I do know everyone is not like that. I personally am not even like that. So I don't necessarily need that to get me going, but some people do. Some athletes do. And he knew that about himself, and he figured out how to get himself going. That's what you do as a pro. You figure out how to get yourself going at 100%. And in order to win, he had personalities around him, luckily, that understood him as a person and how he led, which was not always graceful. And it was a little bit, I don't even know the right word, but he was a lot, and his teammates knew that. And I did not like the GM character, Jerry, but it seemed like he knew that, and he put people around Michael, personalities around Michael, that could still thrive despite being taunted by him, despite being pushed by him in a negative way. And I think also too, Michael showed that he loved his teammates, even though on the court he was not very loving. So I mean, there's a lot of different ways to win. That just happened to work for him and that franchise.
Yeah. Well, yeah, jump in. Fred or Antonio.
Yeah, I just, you know, the whole thing with, you know, I look at it this way, you know, owners own, you know, GM is the GM, coach is the coach, players. And, you know, for all that to come into one big bubble, you know, it's really tough. There's always going to be, in that form of fashion, somebody's not going to see eye to eye. But the bottom line is that, you know, they won championships, you know, and Michael knew it wasn't just him, you know, doing it himself to get there. There was motivation there, like Monica said. It could have been, somebody talked about his number, during the game. He came back the next game, had 23 back on and got at him. And so there's different things that motivate a player, but also motivate to coach to, to get the best out of a player. And, I've always told every player that I've coached in my career is always run with this, even in your life, with relationships. And that's a quote I have is respect without fear. I can respect, the opponent, but I don't fear him. I'm still gonna go out and battle and make things happen. The same thing in relationship when you talk about love and basketball. I can respect my wife. She can go out, have fun or whatever and enjoy, with girlfriends and stuff and have dinners, but I don't fear that anything's gonna go on. That's what made our 12 years strong. So the whole thing with Michael Jordan and the team, and I think if they interviewed a lot of people on there, but I just thought that the whole thing could have been more with his wife's side of view and things that she could have said, and a few other family members. So I don't know. I'm waiting, interested to see what happens on what's the last episode is tomorrow, I think it is. So we'll see what's happening.
Oh, it's two more.
Two more?
Yes.
More.
Okay. Now you can tell I'll be taping them and watching them later.
Yeah.
That's what I remember. I can't sit there, man, for no 2 hours.
Oh yeah, it's a lot. Antonio, are you able to tap into your basketball act? What do you think about the Jordan style as far as the champion?
I think just like Monica and Fred was saying, there's different ways to do it, and it works for different ways work for different players. But one thing I can say this as a player, I can say this from scouting of the whole nine, that one of the things when you have a presence like Michael, or when you have a presence like, rest in peace, Kobe Bryant, one of the things when you hear Kobe talks, Kobe often says that Derek Fisher was his favorite teammate. And one of the things about Derek was obviously he's known for his toughness, but when you watch the Lakers play, one of the things I liked about Derek was even when Kobe being the offensive force that he is and the force multiplier that he is for the whole team, there are times where you would see Kobe coming and asking for the ball. Derek Fisher's wide open and he actually takes the shot. And, and that actually played to the Lakers' advantage in 04 when he took that game-winning shot against the Spurs and he made it. And it's because he had been to that platform before, because he didn't allow the presence of a great player like that to essentially make him cower and make him not be a basketball player. So as much as those teammates set that guideline of leadership and accountability and all those things, if you are on the receiving end of that, it also fortifies the team when you don't back down to that. And Steve Kerr talked about that when he stood up to Michael Jordan, and Michael said, yes, I gained a level of respect for him after he challenged me. And so when that player is setting that guideline, you also have to show that, hey, maybe I'm not as talented as you. I can't do the things that you can do, but I love the game just as much as you do. I'm willing to compete just as hard as you're willing to compete. And I think that sets the guidelines for great teams. And it also helps you get that respect from that great player when they're on your team.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Real quick question.
Okay, I have go ahead, Detroit.
Sorry.
Detroit is one of our co-hosts, just in case you didn't know. He's
off cam.
Sorry, I've been moving around, but I've been listening. Hey, Bo and Tyler, I ain't seen you guys in a while either. Miss you guys.
I was gonna say, hey.
Question: how important was Phil to what happened with Michael, and do you think Doug would have ever broken through with his style, seeing how they were so different in contrast? You first, Monica.
Can you repeat the question? You said how important was Phil, and then who was the other person?
And then do you think Michael would have won with Doug, seeing how he was so Michael-centric? So would Michael have won with Doug in that style? and then how important was Phil to Michael winning?
Yeah, I can see Michael had a great deal of respect for both coaches, and how he spoke about them. I just think, to me, Michael was going to win regardless, just in learning him as a person, his drive. He just wanted to win at any cost. Obviously, the chips fall where you may. I think a little luck always helps, but I don't think there was a huge difference. I think he had the tenacity, the drive, the want, the will. He was going to win regardless of who was coaching him. But he had two great coaches.
Yeah, and I think it's, with the personnel with Doug, the personnel of players, makes a big difference too. I think, Phil was more of the group, kind of like the yoga type guy, and Doug was more the fiery, basketball type guy. Really, I don't know them, personally, just met him a few times, but like Monica said, Michael was really determined to be one of the best to play the game, and that was his drive. Didn't matter who was around, they would have to get on the bandwagon and just ride with it.
Yeah, no, agreed. And I also think, to both of you all's point with Michael's drive, when you make that comparison, the thing with Michael achieving the greatness that he achieved, I think one of the things that it's hard to compare apples with apples, because when you compare Doug with Phil, the other thing that you have to consider is Doug was coaching Scotty at the early part of his career. So Scotty was the person that his development helped push Michael over the top. So if Doug Collins were coaching Scottie Pippen in 91, 92, all those seasons where Scottie Pippen was becoming this top 5 player in the NBA, then this is a totally different conversation. So Doug got Scotty in the early stages when he was not only learning all of his powers as a player, but he was also learning the business of basketball and learning how to be a pro. And I think that's important too, because for me, Michael playing at North Carolina, even though once you make that jump from college to the NBA, you have to learn how to be a pro. But being at North Carolina, saw small at that time NAI.
We're getting a little.
He is literally learning the business of basketball. So with that being said, I had a coach that would tell me this all the time: the better person you are, the better basketball player you'll be. So he has this storm of things going on off the floor in terms of him learning the business of the game, dealing with being underpaid, all of those different things that he was learning. And Phil was fortunate enough, and we all know this, timing is everything. And timing was a big part, like you said, Coach. Timing was a big part for Mike, because he came in the league sort of at the end of Magic and Bird's dominance. And so timing was a big deal for him also. So Phil, in terms of timing, I think he got Scotty at the right point, and Doug Collins just wasn't fortunate enough to benefit from that timing. And that timing pushed Michael over the top. Now they win titles.
Yeah, people don't really understand. Michael's been tested. He was tested in that whole process of coming up. I mean, he was tested with the bad boys in Detroit, beating them up and putting them on the ground, and he's getting back up and getting at it. He was tested through Boston Celtics, with the crew they had, which was really good, with Kevin McHale, Larry Bird, and all that game. And even with Phoenix and Philly, and then the Lakers. So he's been through a lot of tests in his career, and a lot of challenges against not only just players in his position, but players that are 7-footers. I've seen one game when he dunked on everybody on the whole team, and he looked over and said, "Anybody else? You want me to dunk on?" Yeah. I mean, he was like, man, he was off the chain. He was one of those guys that backed it up. But I'd really, this is really interesting to see a different side in the story of the Chicago Bulls, not just Michael Jordan, but just the Chicago Bulls franchise and organization, of how things were ran, back in the day. I was in Utah coaching the Utah Stars at WNBA when he did the crossover on Russell, and then when the Bulls won the championship. And so, and so I know
That was offensive.
I just yeah, with the push off now. I was there to see all that and hear all that because they shared our locker room as their locker room during the course of our beginning of our season. So it was good to see the other side of it and see the story now of Last Dance.
Yeah.
So I have a question kind of about like in our community, I know for sure, and I know it happens from what I'm understanding in like barbershops and a lot of times on social media, people like to like rank players and talk about who's the best. And this conversation I know was reignited, especially since the release of the documentary. And I know ESPN put out a list ranking the top 74 players. And I know especially there was a lot of conversation about their top 10, which I'll name just in case anybody has not heard or seen it. Shaquille O'Neal as number 10, Kobe Bryant, number 9, Tim Duncan at number 8, Larry Bird at number 7, Wilt Chamberlain at number 6, Magic Johnson, number 5, Bill Russell as number 4, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, number 3, LeBron James at number 2, and Michael Jordan at number 1. So my question for all of you is, one, when it comes to like ranking players, especially when we talk about across generational times, is that something that people can do? And what is kind of all the hype around trying to put players in position?
Monica, you want to answer that? You're the champion. I'm going to go ahead and answer that first.
I sure don't want to answer it. This thing is hard. Like, I don't like doing it. I just don't even listen to it when people start doing it because I'm like, you just don't know what's going on. Like, think about all the things that we're learning about that happened during this Bulls era that helped them to win the championship. And it could have been an easy turn of events if they would have lost to Detroit or Michael would have never toughened up. And even with the WNBA, it's hard to rank because you think about like we had Eastern Conference and Western Conference, and now that doesn't exist anymore. There's just so many moving factors of what happened during each era, and the game changes so much that it's like, you don't have the 3-point line, then all of a sudden you have it. So how do you even compare players? It's hard. I don't like doing it. I'm just gonna be honest, and I'm a player.
I always ask Fred, like, how do you rank? How do you guys do that? Like, when he's working, I'm like, and stuff comes up via ESPN or WNBA, ticker. I'm like, who the hell said she was number 1? Like, how do to me, that's what I be thinking because I get the tickers. He don't. I mean, he's basketball all day, but I get the ESPN ticker, the WNBA ticker, and and I'm looking. I have it on all my gadgets, so I just want to see what's going down. So when they do these rankings, I'm like, who said he was, and who said she was? How do you figure this out? So I'm like you, Monica. I don't like it. I be trying to figure out how they figure this whole thing out, and I ask him, and he'll give me this whole perspective. I'm like, that's too much. You still can't rank people like that. It's like you said, there's so much more that goes into this, but it's confusing to me.
Yeah, I don't.
Very popular to talk about.
Yeah, you can't rank. It's just hard to say. All those, gentlemen were really good at their craft, in different positions. You're talking about a center, a guard. I guess people look at championships, who's won the most championships and who's, pretty much stayed with their franchise throughout their whole career, at one team. That has a big part of it too. But I don't rank it. Even in women's basketball, I've coached a lot of players, Lisa, Leslie, Cheryl Miller, Tina Thompson, Cynthia Coop. I mean, I can go a list of players
All of Fame
coaching and being around, But I know when it comes down to ranking people and stuff like that, I can never compare because you just don't. I mean, it's like ranking husband and wives.
Right.
Right. Who the better wife? Who the better husband?
Yeah,
Who the best in this
who better?
relationship?
Right.
Right.
Trade him or trade her.
Wife swap.
Yeah.
Right.
No, for me, I agree. I don't like doing it. First off, just from a cultural standpoint, it just breeds so much division because people get so entrenched in their camps, and people think that if you pick a certain player, that's sort of an indictment about your personality, all of that stuff. Like I just don't like to do that, number one. And then, as Monica and Fred so eloquently said, that all of these errors are different. The other thing that you have to grade is I feel like it's not fair to the players if you're really having these conversations, because now you have to grade organizations. And if you look at that top 10, 6 of those players play for one organization, the Lakers. So now you get into who has a better organization. And when you start going by who's winning the most titles and all of these things, I know when you look in the league of the 78, 79, or 80 seasons or so we've had in the NBA, 4 teams have won almost half the titles. The Lakers, the Celtics, the Bulls, and the Spurs. So with that being said, now we're getting into the Lakers in 82 win the title, and then they get the number 1 pick in the draft and take James Worthy. That's an organizational thing. So when you're grading these players and you're doing that, there's a lot of things that you have to take into account. Like Monica, you were playing for the Lynx. There are a lot of players that didn't have that opportunity, right? And then I'm sure with you, one of the things I want to ask you about is, because I respected your game so much. And,
Hey, wait a second.
My point.
Who's doing this interview here?
I just want to ask her a question.
You want to get this one question in. I heard that. I got a whole bunch of questions I want to ask.
because the thing is, I appreciate greatness. So the amount of the toll that it takes, the sacrifice that it takes to be a scorer and also be a defender, right? And when you look at that, some players sacrifice the things that they can do for winning and all those different things, right? So you have to take all of that into account when you're comparing players. Some players have a bigger stage than others in terms of being able to do what they do offensively. Doesn't mean that they're better than a player who doesn't have the same offensive role. So you have to take all of that stuff into account. And I would love to hear, Monica, from you, like just how that toll that it takes being an offensive person and then turning around and having to light the pilot for your team defensively. Talk a little bit about that.
Well, the crazy part is for me going into the WNBA, I don't know if you know, Coach Fred, but we had like a bunch of top 3 picks in a row because the Lynx was so bad. And that actually was like made us like a power team in the league because we just had all these great players. And it's like, it was on our coach and everyone to manage all that and figure out how to make everybody happy, which didn't last long. But when it did, we were dominating. And a lot of it was sacrifice, Antonio, as you were saying earlier, you just have to sacrifice yourself offensively or, not necessarily give up anything, but you have to do something else. And that actually made our team better. That's what made us dominant, is because people that were so dominant offensively found a way to plug in other areas. And then, I also saw that similar, what I wanted to say earlier was with Phil Jackson bringing in the triangle offense. I think that helped with the longevity of the Bulls' success because Michael didn't have to do everything all the time. He didn't have all that weight on his shoulders, but it's so hard because every day it's so fragile. Every day someone could have a freak out and be mad and didn't get the last shot or have it out with a teammate. It's just so fragile that you have to really, as a team, everyone has to be locked in mentally and on the same page and mature about it. and won it so that we can make it to these postseason, to the postseason play and be successful, because it's very fragile.
And what's your, I'm gonna jump in, cause you know Monica has to go in about 5 minutes, so I just wanted to get my last little questions in with you, Monica, too. What I was gonna say is, what you were part of the team? Did you go with Prince to? Did Prince go to? Was it in Minnesota? Was that the championship team? Did he invite you guys over his house or something? Was that Okay, it was all right. I had that wrong, but I remember it was one championship team that he brought over to his house and had like a private event. I was because it was like a championship team. But when I on a different note, you know what I was gonna say is with the news of recently I've seen that the WNBA had a draft and they had you know some of the Gigi along with some of the young women that lost their lives in the unfortunate incident, helicopter crash. And I just wanted to see, you know, this is all to the panel, but as far as like the WNBA goes, you know, we were I guess gearing up to see, you know, Gigi and see the energy that Kobe Bryant was gonna bring to women's basketball, and I just wanted to see, you know, what with the loss of Kobe and also Gigi, what, you know, how did that affect, you know, the basketball world and women's basketball, and how did it affect you personally?
I can go first
Yeah.
and just say it is such a tragic thing, and I still can't believe it's real life. And especially Charles, because of what you're saying, that how Kobe was so involved in Gigi's basketball career and in women's basketball in general. That really hurt our community, because it through him we get what we need in terms of PR, in terms of more eyes, more
Yeah.
people interested in our game, because we're still working toward getting more people interested in women's basketball and turning that into dollars.
Yeah.
So it would have been a huge asset having him be a part of women's basketball, with his notoriety, with his all the greatness that comes with him. Obviously, his daughter was an up and coming talent. I think she was going to go to UConn, but that's okay. Um, but you know, we still need help, and I think the biggest help that we have gotten so far is from our NBA brothers, and I just encourage them to continue to support us, and to whether they're playing currently or ex players or coaches. I think through them, we will definitely get more people interested and invested in our league.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think the echo on that, you know, it was pretty much a wake up call for all of us. You know, I always tell, you know, players every day is a possession, you know, and, you know, to see that happen and see what went down, just, you know, still bring tears to my eyes, you know, for all those people involved in that crash. And you know, I just think the players now realize that it's more than to basketball. It's just not, you know, playing it, but it's all about relationships and enjoying your teammates and people around you each and every day. That's important. And, you know, like my wife, I enjoy her every day. Even though we in the house here for like 41 days straight, we're enjoying each other and getting to know each other, man. So I can only say that you just got to keep doing that as a group, as a basketball group, but also as a, you know, relationship.
No question. I think what Kobe was doing was great, and you know, especially I just love this sport. So, with that being said, I just appreciate the greatness. It doesn't matter to me if it's women or it doesn't matter to me if it's the NBA, WNBA. So, I think one of the things that Kobe did, and this is how I like to view the game, is, and I say this to my wife all the time, and when we talk about the women's game, it's if us watching the women's game is great, it's a social statement, then great. But I think a lot of us that really love this game are not watching the women's game and quote unquote helping it grow, because that's our mission to support greatness. That's our mission to watch, our mission to support women. That's our mission to support greatness. So we're just watching great players play. And so with that being said, I got pulled in from coach watching your teams at USC when I was a kid. So I've been, as soon as I started loving basketball, converting from football, I play football as well, but really loving the game of basketball, I watch women play as well. So again, as I say that, and I don't want to sound terse, but it's not a social statement for me. It's not about supporting women. It's about watching dope players play. That's what it's about. And so if you recognize and love, that's why when I get into debates at the barbershop about the W, and people are like, and I'll say to them, well, I challenge them. You say you love basketball, so what's the deal here, right? You say you appreciate greatness. What's the deal? Appreciate the greatness. And I was fortunate enough too, when I first graduated, finished playing, first graduated from college. I worked in WNBA and NBA basketball ops. I was going back and forth. And so I was there watching the league in 2003. And I say that for a reason, because I actually watched the first tip in 97, but in 03, when you talk to people, and even now, when you talk to people about the W, they're quickly to compare it to the NBA. And I'll say to them, well, the stage in terms of where the W is for development and all those things, in terms from the business standpoint, we are too young to see the NBA at the same stage. So they compare the NBA today to the W at 20 years old, right? So it's 22 years old. So with that being said, I think it's not an apples to apples comparison. But again, if people really want to watch great basketball players and say that they love this sport the way that they say they love this sport, then you'll watch it whether it's men or women playing it. So as Monica said, I do think it's important for the brothers in the league to push the W forward, but I also think it's important for them to watch it and support it as fans of the game.
Yeah.
Well, we do want to say thank you to Monica, because we know that you have to part with us. So we do want to thank you, and we wish all the best to you during this time.
Yes.
And as you stay safe and healthy, marinating that little baby inside of you.
Exactly.
And Monica,
I really had awesome.
Congratulations.
Thanks for having me. Nice meeting everyone that I hadn't met before. Bye, y'all.
All right, likewise. Take care.
Congratulations. Have a good day.
I do have one last question for the rest of our panel. So we're in a pandemic, not shortly after, the tragedy of the plane crash with Kobe and his daughter and the other players. We enter into, this coronavirus pandemic. And within the documentary, there was that time when after Michael Jordan's father was murdered, he stopped playing. And he talked about the physical condition of his body and having to kind of transition. And I'm just thinking about like the players, even the coaches, and just everyone who like rallies around sports, but then sports have come to a halt. Like, how is the time going to be spent for players, for coaches, for analysts, and where do we see the future of sports going post all of this stuff we're experiencing now?
It's more virtual. Everything is virtual now, even with, team meetings, with the players, with staff, if you took sports away, period, across the board, it'd be really, really interesting to see how this world operates, which is happening now. You just still have some sports that go pretty much live on that can go on TV, but most of the things are reruns and showing you the history of the sports you've been watching. So that's interesting to see too. But, I just think that, as every day for us and as coaches and as players, you get to know yourself a little bit better. You get to know your mate a little bit better, your wife a little bit better. And the main thing is you get to know yourself better, your habits, and what you do and what you don't do. So you can't say you don't have time to work out or do anything, because you do. You got all the time in the world. You got 24/7 to make it happen. And if you don't do it, it's just on you. You know, only person you can blame is yourself when you look in the mirror. So, you know, I just think it's for the future of sports and basketball and football, and I can talk about WNBA ball. It's only going to get better, because it's shown that for the past, 20, 23 years, and I think it's going to 24th year now, but it's shown the growth of, the level of play, the level of salaries, and just the attention that it's starting to get, across the board with the other major sports. I don't know if it's ever going to get to the level with the men's side of things, but, for as the pay level and stuff like that. But, everybody wants a piece of their pie and wants to work and get their wealth, and players in our league, they play for the love of the game. When you talk about love in basketball, yes, love in basketball. Because I've seen that ever since the college days in '83, to see this league grow from 97 when it first evolved. I've seen the changes. I've seen the growth of the players. I've seen the looks of the players and the style of the players. And it's totally changed. It's only going to get better. And, and I think the same thing with the NBA. And I know that Antonio's probably seen on sides with all the sports that he's been involved with, from, basketball, baseball, even the management side.
No, I agree, Coach. I think this time certainly has introduced a lot of us to ourselves, and I've been very thankful for it, because again, as we talked about earlier, the grind and the toll that this sport takes on you, because you're making that sacrifice and you're leaving your family and all those different things. It's been incredible for me to be able to really restore that bond with my wife and my daughter, and to do that, to be here, to be present, and not to be just physically there, but be present. And oftentimes when I would get home, because you're thinking about, this is a results-driven business. So you're thinking about winning and losing. What did I do wrong? What can I do better? All those different things. There are times when, and the exhaustion of just being out and pouring into something. And when you get home, you just are just kind of there. And so it sometimes makes you where you're not present. You're just at home. And so just being present and being more receptive and open to what my wife is saying, what my daughter is saying, all of those different things. And again, the love of basketball piece is that's just so important, because it also too, from a standpoint, it's very important to me, because when we look at this world and we look at people that look like us as we're having this conversation, if we're not there to put some different sort of guidelines and lessons down in our home, our young ones can get the wrong perspective about what it means to be us. Right. So being home and talking to my daughter about the things that are going on, and not just relying on school and TV and all those different things to shape her perspective of who we are, is something that I value immensely. And I wanted to say this when Monica was on, but I want to say this, and I want to say this as well, Coach, what you guys do. Again, I don't want to make this a social statement, but again, what you all do is so important in terms of people, our young girls looking and saying, you know what, there are examples, there's something that I can aspire to do. Because I remember, you can attest to this, Coach, I remember, again, falling in love watching that Women of Troy team that you coach, falling in love with the sport and thinking, where's Cheryl Miller now after this is done? And so now there is an outlet, there is a platform, and all of those different things that really shape that perspective. And for our young girls, I think is very important. So I'm relishing this time. This time also for me personally is part of the reason I just started, quote unquote, having some sort of public presence like 3 weeks ago. So because when you're a scout, you have to be very guarded and very private. And when I was at Nike going and scouting and signing players, you're very guarded. And so you can't really have that public presence. And I think it's so important to really kind of open yourself up and talk with people and share your experiences so they can jump off of that and achieve that excellence that they can achieve. So
Yeah, I agree. I just want to say, I think the stability of it all is beautiful. I'm loving it all. I think when the leagues start back up, everyone's going to come back stronger and more
yeah,
focused, because this has allowed us time to actually be focused on what really matters in life. And just like you were saying, Antonio, having a different perspective on your family, being able to be still, be stable enough to be still, to have full on conversations. So I think going back into the league, NBA, WNBA, whatever, when this all starts back up, you're going to take all this stuff that you have learned from being stable and you're going to take it into this game. And
no
I think it's
question.
going to go harder. It's going to be even better. And everyone's just going to come back with a different perspective on life. And I just feel like things are going to be so much better. This time was needed, whether people are passing away or not. I feel like the world was getting out of control for real, for real. And time was needed for us to be still and figure out what's important, you know, in life. And so I had this love-hate relationship with this COVID-19 thing. But at the same time, I'm just thankful for what it is doing to people. And that is bringing families closer together with time and understanding. So that's my part of it, but yeah.
Yeah. And I would just say this, that as far as sports specifically go, something I was listening to Up and Smoke interview with Penny Hardaway, and he was talking about how he kind of came back. He would come back too early from injuries. And I know injuries is a big thing, and recovery is a big thing. And then a lot of times, athletes, especially, would come back too soon because they want to play, and especially while the game is going on. But I think that, ironically, I think some people, like, obviously, like, you got Klay Thompson and Kevin Durant, um, and really Steph Curry, who, those are just the top people that I can think of that are, we know they're injured. We know, I mean, obviously Durant last year came back too soon from an injury, and then ended up getting hurt worse. And so I think that some players will recover better, where they're just like, you needed to sit down and recover more, and now they're probably gonna come back stronger. Some players, and there's probably players that have stuff going on that we don't even know about, obviously. But then but the other thing is that I heard Up and Smoke was Chris Paul, and he said that early on when this thing was happening, he noticed that he was drinking every night, and so he shared that and said that he kind of needed to make sure that he didn't want to come out of this like just like that guy that couldn't play, like couldn't keep up, and so I'm hoping, because as you said before, Fred, where it's like at a certain point, people are kind of even in the league as professional athletes, but then you got some athletes that will come in and excel because they're working hard every day. They're eating right and sleeping right or whatever. And then some players, which on a side note is interesting about Jordan, I'm like, this guy does not look like he was eating right, sleeping right. And, he was working out and smoking cigars. And I'm just like, that's a whole documentary in itself, just to see like how was he doing all that. But yeah, so it's gonna be some athletes I feel like that our favorite athletes that might take a step back, and some people might take a step forward that who are doing the right things. Some people might be doing the wrong things, some people might be doing the right things. But it's gonna be interesting to see who comes out just like on fire, and then somebody else that wasn't necessarily the main person is like, ready to step into that spot.
Yeah, and that's what separates them right there, with this space that we have. So, if you're not taking care of business, the other person that's kind of doing the drinking and smoking and ain't doing what they need to do on a daily basis to keep, as I would say, keep their value up every day, just like the stock exchange. If you ain't keeping your value up every day, then you're going to lose, some of your interest of your plan ability. But you're so right about Michael Jordan. I mean, that was might have been his release to have a cigar and do things. You know, that was just his release to get away and do things like that. So, but you know, he still come out and score 40, 35. You look at Alvin Iverson. I mean, you know, he had his crew and stuff. He did his thing, but he still came out and performed.
Yeah.
You know, you look at Will Chamberlain back in the day. I mean, it was more like, okay, do you want me for shoot? You want me to play for shoot around, or you want me to play for the game at 7:30 at night? Well, coach would say, I want you at 7:30 at night. Okay, well, let me do what I need to do. I see you around 6:30 one more time, and I give you what you need to get. I give you 100.
Right.
That's a different time.
It's a different time. But this here brings us all together to, you know, the virtual part of, you know, people to meet each other, to fill each other out, you know, a background of each other. You know, I don't do any of this stuff. You know, I just got off the flip phone. I just got off the flip phone about a week ago. And then I just threw out the fax machine last week because I didn't, my wife is keeping me up on what's going on in the world. And, you know, this is my ride or die right here, man. This is my backcourt mate right here.
Good peoples. And yeah, definitely I appreciate y'all. And it's definitely really cool to see, you know, continuing the, you know, technology is such an amazing thing. And in times like this, is really necessary. And it seems like it's only going to go up. I'm sure the Zoom meetings is all probably your calendar about to fill up with a bunch of Zoom meetings pretty soon, if they haven't already. It's definitely important to just adjust to this new climate. And definitely I'm so appreciative for you guys just coming through and talking sports, and you know, we want to continue to follow up as, you know, as life goes on and sports comes back and things progress. Like I feel like it's a continual conversation, and you know, this is the Good News Network on the this is the Good News Network, but this is the Relationship Game Podcast. And before we sign off, we just wanted to give everybody a chance to kind of say what you got going on, what's coming up next, and where can people find you. So yeah, Antonio, go ahead and say what's going on next for you and what you got coming up. Where can people find you at?
So no, I appreciate it. Thank you all for having me again. I appreciate you sharing the platform, and I'm glad to see that everybody's healthy and safe, and you know, want to make sure everybody else continues to stay healthy and safe. You can find me at A.Williams Basketball. That's on IG, Facebook, all those different platforms. And I'll continue to provide more basketball content, sports analysis, all of those different things. So I'm still going on that. I'm talking about WNBA players. Coach, I've been talking about players that were drafted. We just moved to Dallas from Chicago, even though I grew up in LA. We just moved to Dallas, as I said. So excited to see their players play. So I've been talking about them, talking about some of the other players that were drafted. So I'll keep bringing the content. Appreciate you all for coming on the journey with me. So thanks again.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, you can find Fred on my Instagram page.
That's right.
I'll be doing that
I had the hashtag Fred.
I'll be doing that stuff. I'm so old school, man. They say something wrong, I gotta go find them, you know what I'm saying?
He don't believe in none of this stuff, okay? But he has to do it because this is a way of life right now. But you can find him on my Instagram page, which is I am Miss Botali. But we have a lot of things coming up. We have a 501c3 nonprofit organization called Balling for Lupus Loves Foundation. And tomorrow, it was supposed to be our 7th annual charity event, but due to COVID-19, we had to postpone it. So we're gonna do a virtual Balling for Lupus basketball tomorrow. It's gonna be an Instathon, so it's gonna go all the way from 12 noon to like 9 o'clock at night. And so some of our former celebrity coaches and players are all gonna come on and speak a little bit, and we're gonna have entertainment. So we still trying to keep Balling for Lupus going for those people who really need help with, you know, lupus things. I'm a lupus advocate, so we raise awareness for lupus. And so this is our 7th annual one. So if you guys can tune in tomorrow, it'll be on my Instagram Live. We have everybody. We have WNBA players, from Michelle Snow to Chastity Melvin. We have so many people that's coming on that's participated in this event. Entertainment, Joey Little from the Rude Boys. We have so many people. is going to be on this throughout the day. So that's one of our biggest things coming up, and so much more. So if y'all could just tune on tomorrow, tune in, tune out, but come on and say, hey, I appreciate it. And donate if you want to.
Yeah.
And you can find me taking out the trash, washing cooking food, and yeah, that's where you can find me at.
Right.
Doing all that.
Doing all that in the midst of looking at film and stuff too. I still do that stuff. But
Right. Stay ready so you don't have to get ready.
You're right. You're right.
That's true. He stay ready,
Right.
believe it or not.
Yeah, gotta stay ready, man.
Stay ready.
Absolutely.
He's probably, to me, y'all, the hardest working person I've ever seen in sport. And my background is sports too, but I've never seen anything like it.
I learn from everybody that I meet. So, but I appreciate this today. This is good. I think it's enlightening to, thousands to the millions that are watching.
Millions, yeah, I like
I ain't trying to take your spot, man. Let me go.
Yeah, because I asked the question, I got in trouble.
Yeah, you got trouble.
No, that was actually good. I was giving you a hard time.
I'm being like the post anchor now.
Hey, seriously, I think it is. It's definitely, we was good. It was fun having you guys in the studio, out here in LA. And like I said, I'm still looking forward to going to, the Sparks game. I do, I really, much like, Antonio, you were saying, the WNBA,
they're the most skilled people ever.
Yeah, it's like, to be honest with you, when I see them play, I'm like, I look at the game, and you can't look at the game. You look at the game in a different way. It's basketball, because at the end of the day, it's kind of, we always complicate it, but it's called basketball. Like, it's about getting the ball into the basket. Just a basket and it's a ball.
Right.
And so it's just like all these different techniques of how we can get this ball into the basket, and it's just like, at the end of the day, you see, women who are really, they're players, they're basketball players, and so when you see them doing their thing, and it's athletic, and it's just like one of those things where you're like, wow, I know the concentration and the focus that it takes, and the athletic ability to the coordination that it takes to do these type of things, and also going to a live game, you see all the things that, the crowd, you see you just see it, it's a different experience, so I definitely understand why it's important, and why we need it, and why women need it. And unfortunately, like one of the biggest advocates that were gonna bring life into the situation was Kobe. But the thing that he did show was that he had a daughter, and I think that gave him a cause, because he had a daughter that loved basketball, and that was something that was going to take basically one of the best players in the history of the game, and basically insert him into women's basketball, because he's like, if you're going to do this, I'm going to show you all the stuff I knew. And so now we need, we just need that same kind of similar thing again, to branch out.
Let me say this about the game, Charles, and appreciation for the women's basketball.
Okay.
Antonio, earlier you spoke about it not being apples to apples, and in this respect, it's not. But if it were, the NBA would be a lot better. If the NBA was as technically sound as the WNBA when it came to playing basketball, the average score might be 120, 130, because the NBA they miss far too many layups. And the one thing I do know about women is, because I'm a bowler, and I'd rather bowl a man than a woman any day, because she's not gonna miss that mark. They're very specific. They're very detailed. Men often try to be brutes and do things with power, skip over things. The game is so sound. Like, I love Sue Bird. I was a huge Seattle Supersonics fan with Detlef and them, and Hershey and all of them. So when the league came back in and they had a Seattle team, Sue was the first person I fell in love with. But the game, period, Louisville basketball, their coach, tactical. I love it. And so I wish, that's the thing I enjoy about the game, and it's not apples to apples in a sense, just from a monetary standpoint, but just from a pure skill standpoint, These women are skilled. I couldn't make a layup to save my life the way that they could in practice alone. And they out here, they don't miss. They legit don't miss. And I'm firmly impressed, and I've always enjoyed going to the game. So it's got a bright future to me.
Yeah.
No Duncan.
Yeah, that's the hard. Everybody asks me what's the toughest part, between coaching men and then coaching women in basketball, for the coaching aspect. And I coached, some men's teams early in my career, but just for a short amount of time. But it was more, my answer to them was that, well, the toughest thing is when it's 2.3 seconds on the clock, I have to draw up a play to score a layup or make a jumper, where the guys can score something to go and go for a dunk. That's the difference. That's the toughest thing. Other than that, everything is pretty much the same. The motivation is the same. The ladies are more emotional. You feel it, you feel it in the huddle. And, it's a good, clean game. The game was WNBA game is played like it was in the Boston Celtics days with Bob Cousy and all them and stuff, moving the ball around. Now it's getting a little bit more to the one-on-one factor of things, but I love both. I love the NBA and the WNBA. The Lakers, I love the Lakers style. I love the Milwaukee Bucks style with the Greek Freak. That's one of my favorite players. He's dunking on everybody. He's left hand, right hand, whatever. But it all depends what you love and who you love. Women's basketball is, like I say, is on the rise, and it's going to continue to grow and go. As long as I'm in it and been around it, I know the stock is going to keep going up, because I'm going to make sure that I give 110%, for the ladies.
Yeah.
No doubt.
All right. Well, we said it all. Hey, well, I appreciate you guys so much again. And Detroit even showed up with a question. Shout out to you.
Right. Yes.
That's what God. But hey, like I said, once we get this back going, we're gonna have to have y'all pull up again. And shout out to the guests. We got 2 attendees left. Shout out to Siobhan. Siobhan Williams, Antonio's wife. They still holding us down in the audience, and Jeff Gibbons. Shout out to you for attending and listening in, and shout out to anybody else that's out there tuned in. And this is gonna play on the Good News Radio Network. Can we get our picture? You didn't get our picture. You gotta get our picture.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I
we gotta
mean,
get our screenshots. So I can do prayer hands.
Reggie, you can take pictures on this thing too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's a
you just
screenshot. It's
I'm
like a
on a
screenshot.
Mac computer, so you
I'm about to pull out my phone to take a picture.
Yeah, no, it's a screenshot. I'll send it to you. It's like a little
So
screenshot.
when everybody's
Okay,
ready,
just send it.
yeah,
We don't have Monica on here.
I know.
I know, Miss Monica. We're gonna have to do. I'm gonna do another screenshot.
I'm gonna do a few of them.
Y'all doing it already? Okay, wait.
Yeah.
What's up, child?
It was.
All right. Well, pose and just hold it.
Okay.
Okay.
There it is. All right, we're gonna take y'all the pictures. Everybody, been a blessed show, been a blessed day. Everyone have a blessed weekend and stay safe. Loving basketball. This is Quarantine and Chill Volume 7, and we out. Peace.
Appreciate you all.
Appreciate y'all. I gotta get an elbow, man.
Right. No shaking hands.
I gotta go.
Peace.